Alright, so now we're going to start with the final cut, and today we're going to do a little bit of something different from what I did with Phoenix. So this is what I call kind of like connecting the dots. What that means is that we first have to visualize how long do you want the hair to be on all the specific spots. Let's say like what I was saying, that I like to have to set a length here on the back. So that is kind of more or less what I wanted. I used it the guard that is 16 millimeters, but after dry you can see, or actually you probably can't, but from here what I'm seeing, it's actually longer than 16 millimeters, so I still have a bit to work on, which is great. So this is going to be the first thing that I'm going to do, so just pretty similar to what I did last time with Phoenix. I'm going to use my curve scissors, and hopefully he's standing in the right position, and always check. So my advice is, this is pretty much a logic that we started off by cutting it with a clipper for 16 millimeters, and then it's actually a tiny bit longer than this, which means whatever you're cutting right now should be only bits and pieces. So do not expect to see a lot of hair coming off. If you're cutting a lot, then that's not right. Then you have to make sure that you're not cutting too much. And I mean, don't rush it. Take your time. And always try to keep calm, with a really calm, positive energy. That really helps for both of us. Biggest good boy, huh? Let's see. then now you can see that I'm going to be working on this, so I want this to be a little bit more tight. So just put your scissors, or if you can't hold it like this, you can always do this. Now, there are different ways. You don't have to hold the scissors like the way I did. As long as you're comfortable and the dog is comfortable and you can see what you're doing, then it's fine. And when I say that you have to be able to see what you're doing is really important, because yeah, we're into this territory and you don't want to cut other things, right? Yeah, okay, that's good enough. And then I would not suggest to work all the way down to the feet, but instead we're going to start work from the feet and coming back. So what that does is we have a better idea of how much we're actually cutting, because we have more guides. Because if you're happy with like here, I'm happy with what I've got here. This is more or less the final length that I want. I've kind of worked around the back, and so this is kind of like my first guide. And now I'm going to use the feet to give me another guide. Actually, how much actually do I want to cut on the legs? And then from here I'm going to connect that length and then slowly merge and connect to this length right here. So then we won't have cases where we are cutting here, we think it's okay, and then we start working along the feet, but somehow maybe we lost our guide and we cut too much somewhere here, and then we ended up don't know what to do with the rest of the feet. Okay? Don't worry, I'm not clipping on his skin. It's only his coat. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so there are many ways of doing it. Some groomers will pick up the feet and just trim all the hairs that are longer. If you can see all these longer ones around it. But in this case, you can see that Vegas can't really stand still when I pick up his feet like that. So what I like to do is I just let him stand, and I'm just going to trim around his leg. So I'm going to take the scissors. Let's see if we can have a better... Maybe this time I'll try to zoom in a little bit. There you go. Alright. So before you start cutting, you just have to feel where his leg actually is. And don't be greedy, just do it bit by bit until you're more comfortable and you know where you should cut. And I'm just doing small snips around his feet. Hey, don't go. And while you're at the front, there's always a good guide is to check where his nails are. So if you're cutting just right in front of his nails, then that's pretty much it. That should be the correct length. And then this part. So this is not a perfect way, of course. Picking up the feet is a lot easier and more straightforward, but this would make sure that they're standing still. And you can always go back and pick it up, and because you already worked on some length, oh come on, just give it to me for a while, okay? Yeah. And then you can do that, or maybe you can find someone to help you to hold on to your dog. Then that makes it easier as well. And now we have this length. Then what we're going to do is we are going to connect the length from here to here. Good boy, Vegas. So brush it a few times, and then and then just and then again, when you think it's good enough, we move on, because do not try to focus on one leg. You have to work on all of them, more or less what you like. Then they all look more or less the same. So we work on the other one now. See. So again, we're going to cut around the feet. Good boy, Vegas. Before we start to cut this part, it's always nice to comb it a bit and then continue. All right. Brush again. Let's see if there are anything sticking out, and if it's I think when we are grooming our dogs at home, it's also important to try to understand your dog's habits or their character or their behavior when they are grooming. In this case, you can see that Vegas is pretty okay with standing still and let me work on him. So that's why I could use this kind of technique. But if it was Phoenix, he would have been dancing around and it would have been more difficult, and that's why I need my partner's help. So I guess when you're working on your dog, you should also look into that, like what works for both of you. Is it easier to cut the legs first, or are they more okay with you touching their body, their back and the sides first? And if that's the case, you can always switch the orders of doing things. So again, if you think that it's good enough, just move on, because I mean we could just stay here for another half an hour just trying to look at it and try to make it as perfect as we can, but that doesn't really lead us anywhere, so we're not gonna do that, because time is precious, and you will get tired, the dog gets tired, so no, we're not going to do that. Okay, let's do the front legs. Come on, Vegas. Yeah. Oh, Vegas, brave. I know. Yeah. Okay. Hold you. Stop. And then again, brush it, comb it again. Okay, I'm feeling that there are a bit more knots over here, so we're gonna drop our scissors for a bit and just get everything combed through again. Come on. Is that better? think I'll do it on this side so you can see better. So I always find that this part, that armpit part, there's always a lot of hair and it gets stuck and all knots. So I like to keep that part a bit more clean. And there's a little trick that I do is I would just pick up his hand like this, and I'm just gonna go right in and just cut off some of those. So at least it doesn't get too long. Let's see. And this side as well. Ooh. Something like that, yeah. Vegas. Oh, you've been a good boy. You've been a good boy. Right. So this is kind of good enough length. Nothing particular sticking out. That's good because we have to move on and do the next step. And that would be to connect the rest of the body. I always like to keep the neck, this part last, because I like to have that classic Bichon, like a slope. And by getting that, I personally find it easier if I get these right, and the chest, this part it's always the easiest, just like here at the back. So once we got this sides, the side belly, everything is already in the length that we want, then we could start moving on to the neck and all the way up to the head. So in this case, let's start with the chest. As always, just comb through, just to make sure that there are no knots or anything that is in the way. So you might want to hold your dog up, chin up, and just start trimming. Same thing as what we did with the back. I mean, we already cut it with a clipper, so that was what, 16 millimeters or 19, I forgot. But here we're just cutting little bits and pieces. We're not cutting off a lot of length, but just the length that you find best, that you're okay with. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the chest. Don't overdo it. I mean, if you pull on the hair and you see it's, for now I'm seeing about 1 centimeter, and that's great. That's what I want. So it could be 1 or 1.5, or as long as you find that the length is okay, we just move on. And then the next thing to do is I would like to use the curve scissors for that. And what we're going to do is we are going to connect the length here and this part. So we're going to round it off. Okay. Alright. Let's see. Stop. And again, just comb through everything. Make sure that nothing is in the way. Okay. Yeah. And then remember this part that was already done? So I'm going to use that as my guide. And then I'm just going to curve my way down to the side. Do not rush yourself when you're doing this, because it's very important that you have to visualize the shape, because this is kind of like when you're trimming those bushes, you know, you need to know that you're doing either a square or you're doing a circle or whatever shape that you're working on. So you need to really focus on that. So when I hold the scissors, when I'm opening up, and when I'm doing this, I'm actually thinking, where am I beginning and where am I ending? So my line is going like this, just straight all over there. So if you're going a little bit like that, unstable, then that's not right. And I mean, you could always go back and forth and go through a few more times, instead of trying to do it in one go and then cut too much, because that's never a good thing to do. Let's see. Because see that this side it's done. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're gonna do this side, and then the same thing. Oops. That's a sign of knots. Something is in the way. Let's work on that first. Okay, that should do it. Yep. So it's already looking a lot better. We could all, if you see some imperfections or you think that there are still some bits and pieces that are not quite right, we could always come back with a thinning scissors to smoothen it out. But as long as the general shape it's straight over here, then I think it's all right. Okay, and then the next thing is, or the very last thing is the neck. actually, I just realized that I haven't cut his head for quite some time, so I think his fro is just way too big right now and way too long. So it's kind of difficult to get this nice shape over here because we don't know the exact length that we want here on the top. So we could do is that we could already start with this, the fro, and then we can come back with the neck later. And then again, it's a lot of visualizing on how do you want your Bichon to look. In my case, I always like them to be round, and the circle should be a bit more on the top and then a lot tighter on the bottom, on the chin. So in that case, we could work on the chin first, and then we can set the length on the top as well. And then same idea as what we did with the legs and the body. Then we have these two guidelines, and then we're just going to round it off and connect it. I know. Easy. Easy. Come. Hey. Who are you? So now I got the chin done. This is if I pull it, it should be, this is like 2 centimeters. Actually, I could go even shorter, but I think it's okay for now. Then we're gonna move on. Well, since we're here, might as well work on the eyes now, because I think it's also bothering him that he's not really seeing anything. Now you want to sit, now you want to lie down, alright. Is that better? So for the eyes, I always like to clean up the hair here right between the eyes, and I also like to clean all the way on top of the nose, because I like to see a bit more of their nose. Do not worry about using the scissors. As long as you're holding your scissors with the shears close, then it should be fine. And even if you open it, as long as you're opening it in a small opening, nothing bad can happen. But do not go around having your scissors all wide open like this, okay? Come on. We're almost done. Okay. That's a good boy. And of course, if you want to have a really clean cut on the nose, you could also use a clipper to just quickly go through it. No. No. Okay. Come on. Just a tiny bit more. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay. And then we're gonna cut the fringe, which is the hair just right above the eyes. That's a bit too much. Maybe we can do a little bit less so you can see where you are. Oh, okay. See how do you look right now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then we are going to set the length of our afro. Because now this is dropping, huh? It's it's a bit too much. Okay, so let me stand in the back so everyone can watch. Wait. So let's see if we take the hair right on the very top of his head. We're gonna take it out, up, lift it, and then we're just gonna hold on to the section. And let's take off about 2 centimeters and see how that goes. Okay. Yeah, I think that is good. So this will be our guide, and then we're gonna use that and to work around the rest. Okay, let's work on the mouth first.